Hi there, this is Doug with another video on the magic of automation and Eclipse maintenance. As discussed many times, and we will many times further, as you, the guy who knows Eclipse, and may God help you, if you happen to be the person in that company, because they expect you to know all kinds of things that no ordinary human being should know. As you know, any information system is barely controlled chaos. Humans are humans. Humans take shortcuts. And I don't know what most human beings think a computer software ERP system is, but I think it's a combination between the amazing Criskin, Magic Genie, and God or something like that. It's supposed to somehow take sketchy and incorrect, deliberately misleading information that they occasionally put in and somehow translate that into real, actual what happened. As you, the Eclipse guru, you will constantly fight with GIGO, right? Garbage in, garbage out. People put in the garbage, then they expect miracle of reality on the other end, and it never happens. So you spend an awful lot of time correcting, as I like to call it, the OFUCs, or the I don't give a shits, which is unfortunately where most of your employees or coworkers are at. They want to do the bare minimum, get the customer out of my face, and so I can get on to doing whatever I think is more important, or whatever. If you do not maintain the data integrity in your system, then you lose money. Let me repeat that again. Money! I realize that most people running small independent distributors these days feel like they're running a charity, and you're supposed to live off of love and sunshine. Yeah, not really the case. Anyway, so money. The more clean and efficient your operations are, the more clean and efficient your data systems are, the more chance you have of making money and keeping everyone paid and the lights on. So here's a case I'm currently dealing with, which is I'm trying to clean up a system that has been badly neglected over the past 6 or 7 years, and I'm trying to deal with the issue of both retraining the employees on how to do the procedures correctly, and of course as soon as I walk out the door they go right back to their old habits, and also cleaning up all the damage that's accumulated over the years. Eventually I would like to believe I'm going to win. Time will tell. Anyway, so in this particular case, as I'm going through and trying to clean up queues, earlier video cleaned up the invoice preview queue to get ready for our AR person that's coming on board. And now the next thing that I wanted to deal with was the open order status review queue, which probably doesn't need to be cleaned up, but honestly, you know, I think Eclipse works best when you use it as it was designed, which means read the manual, see how the process is supposed to be, and try and do something that kind of appears like what they had spelled out in the manual. I know, call me crazy. Anyway, open order status review queue. So I did a quick search and come to find out that that for some whatever reason, old sales orders never quite cleared the queue. Something about how they completed the sales order. I mean, they picked the order, they got the cash. When I look at the orders, they're closed and invoiced, and yet they still show up in the open order status review queue, and most of them are stuck in this picking mode, which is interesting because we don't have wireless warehouse, so I don't know why that would be happening. And signature, which also interesting because we don't have signature capture devices in, and never have. Needless to say, you know, we are going to be doing wireless warehouse at some point and signature capture, and I want this old garbage cleared. But if you see down here the number, I have got 36,826 records that need to be cleared out of this queue before we can start using it correctly. Oh shit. Uh, the way of trying to clear these is not particularly intuitive, and of course I had to call up India Tech Support at Epicor. Submit a ticket. As you know, they don't have telephones there, so you can't actually talk to anybody. Um, so the after talking with them, I mean, all I wanted to do was be able to, change the status from picking to closed because the order is closed. It turns out that Eclipse doesn't really have a direct way of doing that. Apparently, the only way to clear it from the queue is to tell the system that the print was confirmed, that the print did happen, and that's it. It will not print anything when you do confirm print. You're just telling the system that you did print it, and apparently that changes the status to closed and empties out the queue. Well, needless to say, if I have to right-click and confirm print 36,000 times, that makes for a very long couple of days, and I'd rather not do that. So how would I tackle this particular problem? As I've said over the years, Eclipse is extremely reliable software. It's also extremely old and arcane software. It's got a lot of weird redundancies and quirks to it, but it is a solid system. And sometimes they've built into it nice, elegant ways of solving these types of problems, and in a lot of cases they haven't, because they didn't expect you to be a ninny and not check your open order status review queue for 7 years. So over the years I've developed a lot of little simple semi-automation tools in order to send routine keystrokes to the user interface and clear out things when I have to do something repetitive, in this case like 36,826 times. As mentioned, I have 3 main go-tos and a 4th one that I use only in rare occasions, which I'm not even sure is supported anymore, but it's really cool when it works. The primary one is this tool here, not that tool there, this AutoHotkey, which I said uses an old Visual Basic like style language, and Hungarian notation for the variables, which is really weird and arcane, but it's a very, very simple Visual Basic like scripting tool that essentially you're writing macros. What I do in my programs is I will write a series of macros, and I will assign them to keys on the number pad, and I'll use a little wireless number pad because I like to use my left hand, which frees up my right hand to do other stuff. And then when I say hit the plus sign or the asterisk over here on the number pad, that'll activate a macro to send a certain set of keystrokes to the Solar eTerm interface, and that way I can semi-automate things. This gives me the added advantage of I can kind of, while I'm doing something else, out of the corner of my eye, watch what happened and maybe move around on the interface and select specific records that I want to process in different ways. Is it brilliant and beautiful? No, not by any stretch of the imagination, but when you're a dunderhead programmer like I am and you just need to get impossible shit done and people expect you to be a magic genie, you take some shortcuts. Anyway, AutoHotkey, as I've said, is free, just like AutoIt, the other tool that I tend to use, or Python, the third tool that I use. And an example of a macro I wrote here, well, in this case, we want to select each one of these records and select confirm print. There was, for some strange reason, because of the Solar interface, I could have done this in eTerm as well. eTerm I find easier to program with. Solar is more erratic, but because of the number of records, eTerm freezes up when it tries to put all these records in the buffer, so I was forced to use my less favorite Solar. But, at least I got it to work. And so, of course, I wanted to, I wanted to right-click and just select Confirm Print. I couldn't really do that. I had to tell it, go up here to the file and edit or orders and select it from there for some strange reason. But, this is the thing that you deal with sending keystrokes to interfaces, especially a Java application. You gotta futz with a little bit until you find something that works right. Here is a basic example of the AutoHotkey program. As you can see, all the green is just comments that I put in for myself because, as I said, I'm a dunderhead for a programmer, and once every 6 months when I rewrite these things, I don't remember what I did. I wrote in a simple little menu here that pops up when I hit 0 to remind me of what macros I have assigned to which keystrokes, because you can see I've got like 15 different macros here, and I don't memorize those. I couldn't if I wanted to. So in the case of this one, let me see if I can show the main example here. Here we are. So I'm sending the Alt key, I'm waiting a couple of milliseconds for the solar interface to catch up, then I send O, and then I send C, pausing enough time for solar to catch up. As I said, the biggest problem with automating solar is it's slow, and depending on your internet connection, how many people are on the system and such, it takes a variable amount of time to respond, and that drives the macros a little crazy when it goes to brute force send keys, and the user interface isn't ready for it yet. So you fiddle with these pauses between the keystrokes you send in order to get it going. So this, when I hit the asterisk on the number pad, it sends this keystrokes and goes ahead and confirm prints the record that I select. Once I've got this all written, oh, by the way, this is the Visual Studio Code Editor, which I prefer for editing since I do AutoHotkey, AutoIt, and Python, and a couple other things. It's nice to just have one editor to get used to that interprets all of those languages, even though AutoHotkey does have its own editor that gets downloaded with it. Anyway, so back to this. So I've got these things, and then I've got the macro running here. You can see that on the AutoHotkey running in the background, waiting for me to hit a key on the keypad. Now in this case, I've set several macros. One, if I just want to change one record, I hit asterisk. If I want to change 25 of them, I hit minus. If I want to change 100, I hit plus. If I want to change 1,000, I hit enter. This allows me some variability to semi-automatically interact with interface. So change one, hit the asterisk, and there we go. And there we go. And okay, I feel comfortable with this, so I'll go ahead and do 25 at a time, and it clicks it off. And as you well, this gets a little tedious to watch. Typically, I'll set this for like 100 at a time, and then I'll do something else while running this at the out of the corner of my eye. I have 3 computers on my desk, so I always have one computer that I'm doing something semi-automatically with while I'm doing something else with the other 2. And that's just a workflow that's worked well for me over the years. And there we see, and it did the certain number, and it clears it out. And so this is one way of making an odious task from a real pain that will increase your alcohol consumption at the end of the day to something that's manageable and in some cases, not entirely unpleasant. Anyway, so here's hopefully this is a useful tip or trick for you on how I do it. If you want some examples of some of the macros that I've written, send me a message and I'll email them off to you. Otherwise, have a glorious day.